What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Morning Vibe. I hope you guys had a great Monday. Rolling into Tuesday, gonna get through this week. We are always chugging along to the weekend here on the Morning Vibe, whether you're listening here, near, or far. We sure appreciate you being here. Let's hit us with that intro music just a little bit. If you guys watched yesterday's episode, it just sounds quiet without the intro music. It really does. And dial that back just a little bit. Today, we're going to talk about a fun topic. We're going to talk about horrible bosses. Now, we've all had one. We have all had a horrible boss somewhere along the line in your lifetime, some worse than others. I mean, let's just be honest. If you've worked in the public realm, whether it be a factory, whether it be fast food, whether it be in daycares, wherever, you have had a horrible boss somewhere along the line. Now, maybe we'll do an episode someday on great bosses, because I've had some great bosses too. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but I'm going to tell you guys two stories today. Then I'm going to ask you guys for your comments, because I know full well I'm not the only one out there who's had a horrible boss experience. And I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But what we're going to talk about today, one of them is my personal experience with a horrible boss. The other one is going to be the PYT's experience with a horrible boss. She's actually sitting over here in the background. She's editing a video right now, and I decided I was going to go ahead and film this podcast for Tuesday of this week, because we're going to try really, really hard to get an episode out every day this week. We're at the end of February. We're rolling into March. I want to post every single day this week. Like that's my big goal this week. So let's dive right in. I, like many, I'm sure, had my worst ever management boss experience working in fast food. And I would venture to guess that a lot of the times, if you do have a really, really bad boss, it's going to be in that type of environment, in fast food, something like that. Not to say that all restaurant managers are bad, or all fast food restaurant managers are bad. That's not where I'm going with this. Because I mean, I've got friends that run restaurants, and so I'm not knocking restaurant management, but it just seems to me like a lot of the times when I hear these stories, they are from fast food workers, and I don't understand. And maybe you guys know why. I don't know if maybe that management group, some of them are trying to overcompensate. I'm really not sure, but we're going to dive into it. I'm going to give you mine. So when I was 15 years old, in Shelbyville, Kentucky, I was working at a little fish house right there in Shelbyville. It was called Mike's Fish House. It's not there any longer. My very, very first public job ever. And I worked for a lady there, and this is going to come with a little bit of twist. I worked for a lady there who had never really had experience with people who had never had a job before. It was my very, very first public job. And she ended up being probably the best boss I ever had. Now that's where the twist comes in, because I was too young and dumb to know at the time that they were only giving me like 4 hours a week or something like that, which is child labor laws, all that kind of stuff kicks in. Well, my friend worked right across the street at McDonald's. Now he was also 15. Now we were borderline going on 16. So I went to this young lady that was my boss there at that Mike's Fish House, and I said, hey, when I turn 16, am I going to be able to get more hours? And she said, unfortunately, probably not. She's like, I don't want to lie to you. She said, because, we're very, very small. We already have, I think they had 4 full-time employees at the time. She's like, I'm just going to be honest with you. She's like, they're our top priority because they are full-time employees. Totally understood that. And I grew up on a farm. I'd been working my whole life. I totally understood where she was coming from at that time. And I told her, I was like, well, my friend works over at McDonald's, and they told him that when he turns 16, he's allowed to work 25 hours a week or whatever it is, and that he can get those. And she's like, yeah, we're not ever going to be able to do that here while you're still in high school. She's like, I don't want to lie to you. I just want to be honest with you. I was like, all right, cool. I greatly appreciate you, being honest with me about this. So fast forward about 2 weeks, I gave him a 2-week notice, and I left on great terms with her, 100%. And I went to work at McDonald's at 15, going on 16 years old. And that's where my worst boss experience ever happened. I'm not going to say what year this is, because like I said, I know those guys have been around for a while, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But there was a particular manager at McDonald's who he thought he was better than everybody. He did. He thought he was better than everybody. And it was one of those things where I was just like, even at an early age, he just did stuff that tried to belittle people. And the more and more I saw it, the more and more it was so pronounced. Like, he worked hard to belittle people at this job. Now, if some of you know me from back in high school, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because this was not just happening to me. In all honesty, I don't know that I ever had a clear-cut like confrontation with this manager or this boss, but he was the type that he would literally walk through the lobby and there would be, a cup sitting on the ground or whatever. And rather than just bending over and pick the cup up, he would literally go get, I can't remember her name for the life of me. I wish I could. She was a sweet little old lady, and she worked part-time at McDonald's, and all she did was clean the lobby. She was out there, she cleaned tables off, and I get that that's her job. Like, I understand. But as a manager or as a boss, if you're walking through the lobby and, employee A is back there in the back and they're mopping, and I literally saw this happen with my own eyes, he would walk past a cup laying in the lobby, and he would go back there and get her and make her come up there and pick it up, point it out to her, and break her away from mopping or whatever it was he was doing. That was like red flag number one. Like, of course, that was it. So went on to, I think I worked at that McDonald's for maybe a year and a half, 2 years before I went on to Walmart, because when you turned 18, that's what everybody in Shelbyville did. The second you turned 18, you went to work at Walmart because the pay was better, the hours were better, and pretty much the work was better. Nobody wanted to work in fast food. But there was just so many instances of him just belittling people at every turn. And then I did end up finding out later on, very shortly after I left, he did end up getting fired. I don't even want to say what he got fired for, because I'm not trying to, if somebody does know, what happened, I don't want to like try to end up in a lawsuit, but he did end up getting fired from McDonald's, and it was very, very much in line with the way he had acted while I was there. And all I could think about at that time, I'm like, you ended up getting fired from McDonald's as a manager because you thought you were better than all the high school kids that worked there. Because, I mean, let's be honest, when you go into a fast food environment, especially back then, and I get today, it's totally different today than what it was back then. We're talking about, 25 years ago when this was going on. But he did not quite grasp the concept that at the end of the day, they were all working at McDonald's. And nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking managing. I'm just saying, be respectful of the people around you. It doesn't matter whether you're working at McDonald's with a bunch of high schoolers or you're at a professional job, as a CEO, whatever. Don't ever look down on people. You've heard the old saying, the janitor and the CEO are just as important. The PYT did not turn her phone off. 100%. I heard that in my headphones. PYT, you jacked up the whole podcast now. The whole thing is ruined because of you.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I don't, you've messed everything all up now. Now I've lost my rhythm. I've lost my flow. I was playing Call of Duty last night. It was going great. Landon walked in front of me, got me killed, and then I died like 15 times in a row after that. I don't do well once that rhythm gets broken. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like 100% I don't do well. But anyways, that was probably, I will tell you guys, at 42 years old, now, of course, Sarah and I have owned our own company for the better part of 10 years. I have pretty much had amazing boss experiences for the most part. When I was in banking, my direct management was always amazing. Like I cannot, because I started in banking like basically at 22, 23 years old, something like that. And I worked in banking for, I don't know, probably 10 years, something like that, maybe in that ballpark. And all my direct managers, like I started off as a teller and I worked my way up to a branch manager. And every single direct manager that I ever had was, I can honestly say, some of the best people that I've ever worked with. They were there to help us. The banking industry is cutthroat in all aspects. And it's like, it is one of the most, what have you done for me lately careers that you could possibly be in. And when I left the banking industry, I'd been doing it for, like I said, probably 8, 9, 10 years, something like that. I don't know exactly where it was, but I managed a small bank there in Shelbyville. I didn't do much outside of Shelbyville before we moved to Florida. But I got reamed on a call one day because we missed a loan goal by like $10,000. Now, if you know anything about the banking industry whatsoever, missing a loan goal by $10,000 is nothing, especially when you take into consideration that it was like we had led our region, our district. We had led our district for like 6 straight months, and we were in the top 5 in our region for that whole year. And then we missed the loan goal, and we still finished first in the district. Let me throw that out there. Well, not my boss. My boss was totally cool. Like, we were on a conference call. He's like, hey, we just got to figure out a way to make this up. He's like, if you can make it up next quarter, he's like, that'd be great. And he's like, not that big of a deal. We appreciate all your hard work. Well, then we get on a call that afternoon with the regional manager, who was my boss's boss. And he let me have it on this phone call. And very, very shortly after that, I did leave the banking industry. I'm happy to say, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if somebody walked in here right now with a briefcase with $1 million cash and like, hey, we'll give you this to come back and manage banks, I would be like, no, not a chance will that happen. So the other story I want to tell, and this one's a little more dicey. And I have to be very, very careful with what I say here, because I don't want to get myself in trouble. But the PYT worked in Shelbyville. I'm not even going to say what field she was in. I'm just going to say that we're going to call it Company A. The PYT worked for Company A. She had been with them for probably the better part of probably about a year and a half. Well, she had managed to move into essentially a management role for Company A. Again, I'm not even going to say what this field is. But then Company A got bought out by Company B, we will call them. And so Sarah stayed on to continue to work with Company B because Company A had told them, hey, she does a great job. You're going to want to keep her around. She's very, very good at what she does. So you guys are going to want to keep her around. So Company B agreed that Sarah was doing a great job and that they wanted to keep her around. I get a phone call one day from the PYT, and she's like, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. I was like, what? Well, I'm sorry. Let me roll back the clock a little bit. Let me roll backwards here. After Company A sold out, Sarah had 2 paychecks that was supposed to be coming to her, and she got one of them without any problem. No issues whatsoever. You talking about it's in the very front pocket. It's a black one. You got to use a different one than the white one. That one in the very front's a black one. It'll work. Not only is Sarah leaving her phone on, she is also completely interrupting the podcast now, asking me for a charger for her computer. Like, why are you really trying to just jack this podcast up that bad? Nope. So anyways, back to the story. So Company A gave Sarah her first check that she was owed. No problem whatsoever. Well, when it came time to get the second check, it didn't show up. So we literally had to threaten to sue Company A in order to get Sarah's paycheck, her final paycheck, because obviously Company B was not responsible for the money that was owed to Sarah while Company A was still in charge. So there was I say all this to let you know, there was no hard feelings with Company B whatsoever. Once they took over, they were running things efficiently, and there was no issue whatsoever. Fast forward about, 3 months? So let's fast forward, we'll say 3 months, something like that. I get a phone call from Sarah one day, and she's like, hey, you're never going to guess what happened to me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, the FBI showed up here today to talk to me. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, the FBI showed up to talk to you? And she's like, yeah. She's like, I just got interviewed by the FBI. And I'm like, and at that point, you got a million things running through your head. I mean, we didn't own our own business at the time, thank God, because had we owned our own business, I probably would have had a heart attack. Because it's one of those things where if a cop knocks on your door, even if you didn't do anything wrong, and you're not going to tell me there's not a person out there that hasn't experienced this in some way, you 100% freak out and your heart sinks down to your kneecaps because you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So now imagine that tenfold, because imagine you're at work one day and the FBI shows up and they're like, yes, we need to speak with Miss Middleton, please. Well, it turns out that the only employee that was carried over from Company A to Company B and was still there was Sarah. So they wanted to sit down and talk to Sarah, not about anything that Sarah had done, because Sarah was perfectly in the clear. She did not handle their financials in any way whatsoever. She was just strictly a leadership role, not a financial handler of Company A. But apparently Company A, and again, I'm not going to get into the dicey situation of it all, but Company A made some very, very poor legal decisions while they owned Company A, and they were under investigation for the FBI. So yes, the PYT has 100% been interviewed by the FBI. and she lived to tell the tale. You know, she didn't end up in prison. You all could be without the PYT right now had she said one wrong thing that day. But it is definitely a gut wrenching feeling. So I would definitely say that chalks up as a horrible boss. If you've ever had to be interviewed by the FBI because of something that your boss did, I would venture to guess that was a pretty terrible boss, you know, on your part. You guys leave a comment down below and let me know what your worst horrible boss experiences is, because I know all of us have got them. Like, and I don't want the ones where you just didn't like them because of the way they looked at you one day. Like, I want legit, like, something they did to you. I'll leave comments. Maybe in a couple videos, we'll go back and we'll read some of those comments. That's something I want to start doing on the podcast. When we do call to actions like this, like for the horrible boss thing, I'm going to go back and in a future podcast, I'm going to read some of your all's responses on the podcast, just so we can kind of do that. I want to do another one. I want to do some of the mean comments that we get on our YouTube channels. You guys ask about those all the time, and it's funny because on the Cameraman Ron channel and on Facebook, we get a lot. So I have been screenshotting those. We're going to do an entire podcast where we just read mean comments that people have said about us. So guys, if you're new here to the Morning Vibe, you know, here's the thing. I'm going to start doing this at the beginning. I meant to do it today and I just forgot about it. I've been like doing some research on how to grow channels and like just different things. And one of the things they say is for your call to action for your subscribers should be something outrageous. So we're going to start doing outrageous stuff. I don't want you guys to just hit that subscribe button. I want y'all to climb up on the top ropes. I want you to jump off and I want you to drop the elbow on it like Macho Man Randy Savage. That's what I want you to do, the subscribe button. I want you to drop that big elbow on it. And that way, you know, each and every time we upload new content, guys, make sure you find a way to make somebody smile today. You never know. It just might change the world. We can't wait to see y'all on the next one. Y'all take care. We'll see you soon.